and welcome to Virtual Exhibition Catalog number 21, featuring the fine art of Sanah Brown Bowers. She's an artist originally from Queens, New York, who now lives in Texas and has an amazing fingerprint that we're so excited to share with you.
And Sanah has amazing work, boxes that look like altars and words that resonate from the outside and allow you to really venture into each of the pieces separately as an amazing landscape within a window. So you'll enjoy each of her pieces.
Our mission continues for the last 17 years to expose collectors to multicultural artists and artists of the African diaspora. And tonight, we're fulfilling that mission by introducing a new fingerprint, new to the Chicago Midwest area. And we're happy to allow you to drop in easily to our virtual exhibit catalog, and you can walk around virtually, touch on the Matterport tag, and you can see the title, medium, artists, and information about Sanah's amazing exhibit.
And all of our work can be found at www.galleryguichard.com.
Thank you.
We are so excited to introduce to you an amazing artist, but before I do that, I'm Andre Guichard from Gallery Guichard, artist, co-owner, collector, and curator.
I'm Frances Guichard.
And we have the amazing opportunity to introduce to you an amazing artist, Sanah Brown Bowers, and her phenomenal new exhibition, a solo show, MERAKI. So without further ado, Sanah.
Hi, Sanah. How are you?
Hi, how you guys doing? Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you and a new artist to the gallery. We truly appreciate your work and all that goes along with it. So we're excited about this. Can't wait to hear more.
And it would behoove me if I did not acknowledge our good friend John at the Houston Museum of African American Culture. We have a great long-standing relationship going back to the Bombay Sapphire Artisan Series. And I have to say, Houston produced at least 3 winners of that whole contest. So he's always very proud to bring us new artists to the table that we didn't know, and you are definitely an amazing treat. So welcome to Chicago.
Thank you.
To this amazing exhibit. I can't wait to hear more about your work, but I'll start with the first question of how did you get started in art? How did you become an artist? What was it?
Well, I'm actually from New York City. So I was born and raised in Queens, New York, and my mother was actually an artist. But she never pursued it full time because she worked for the New York Police Department. So she did art on the side. So we were raised in a very artistic household. And, we used to sew, we used to make our Christmas tree ornaments. She taught all of us to be very, very creative. So I got my artistic side from her. And when I was in high school, I decided to go to an art high school that was located in Manhattan called Washington Irving. So that was where I first kind of dived into like doing fine art, because in New York, the schools are a little bit different than here in Texas, where they have a lot of art high schools. So I did photography and I did a lot of painting. So when I was in high school, I began to like win awards for different kinds of projects and stuff like that. And when I went to college, I did photography and fine art, but actually I dropped out after the first semester because I wasn't sure if I wanted to be an artist. So it took a couple of more years for me to really figure out what I wanted to do. And when I moved to Texas was when I really decided that I wanted to be an artist full time. So it took a lot of years for me to kind of just accept that that's what I wanted to do. And it also took a lot of trials and tribulations, because when I moved here, I was working, repoing people's cars, and I really hated my job. And so I just began to pray. My story is all about prayer and faith. And in my prayer time, I had a lot of idle time. I just felt led to just start painting. So I always loved photography and portraiture. So my goal was like, if I want to paint a portrait of somebody, I want it to look alive. I want it to look like it's about to walk out of the canvas. So through prayer, I just asked God to anoint my hands and show me how to paint. So all of this is just me being self-taught. Like I never took any classes or anything like that. I just literally learned how to paint portraits and things on my own. And all of my portraits are in acrylic. I never really learned oil because at the time I had a small child, so I didn't want to have those chemicals around her. So I just literally started painting on my own. And from there, I just decided to leave my job and do murals, do portraits, do whatever it took for me to be able to do something that I enjoy, because I wasn't willing to dedicate my life to something that I wasn't happy with. So I took a very high risk at an early age and just like left my job and left corporate America and just started hustling. So that's a little bit of my journey.
You have an amazing body of work at the gallery, and you have a title that's really unique. So tell us a little bit about the title of your show and how that all works together.
Well, the title's called MERAKI, and MERAKI is about kind of like a person pouring everything that they are into their artwork. And as you can see from my body of work, the foundation of my body of work is about my family and myself. I use a lot of self-portraiture and a lot of portraits of my daughter, because at the time that I first started doing my paintings, my daughter was entering middle school and high school, and she had a lot of self-esteem issues regarding like her hair, her having natural hair, and us living in an environment that wasn't really accepting of that. So my way of pouring into my daughter and infusing self-esteem into her was to do these portraits of her that were really beautiful. So I would ask her about what she felt about beauty, like what does she think? And I would take her words and turn them into poetry and make them a part of the painting. And at the time I would do exhibitions around the city and stuff. And so when people came to the gallery or I did an exhibition or they saw the work, it was like she was like a little celebrity. So it really, really boosted her self-esteem as far as feeling proud of who she was and proud of her hair. And so that was a lot of, I see my art is like very, very therapeutic. And that's why I use a lot of text. I use a lot of poetry. I use a lot of things that I write. So it was a way of healing myself and as well as healing like my family as well.
Wow. I just want to say your story sounds so much like mine. I grew up with artists. My dad was an artist, and it's amazing how art affects children and it affects your life and it changes you. So we really believe in living with original art because it has phenomenal effects. Look what it created in you. But I want to go even further because I love how you take things and your work speaks to you, because even like the piece behind you, the Master of Kung Fu, and how as young people, you know, you don't think of African Americans in karate, but I even remember when we were growing up, karate movies was a big thing. So I love how you juxtapose real-time society and people in your work. Can you talk a bit more about how you do that in such a creative way that makes people feel like it's made for them?
Well, my idea behind doing that was that I want the portrait part is like the serious part, the part that takes a lot of time. I would say it's fun, but it's not really fun, meaning it's a lot of technical time that goes into that. And so for me, the way of kind of speeding up my process is like, I want to get to the fun stuff. So the fun stuff is the pop art, the pictures, because I grew up in the 80s. And so my brothers, this painting is called Bloodlines. And so it's 4 of my brothers, all of the men in our family. So it's our grandfather, great uncles, and all of these men are in my brother's sleeve. And so growing up in New York, my brothers were obsessed with Kung Fu movies. They took karate, you know, they hung Kung Fu. So this was kind of the era that they grew up in. And even though they're 60 years old, they're still like big kids. So their whole house is filled with like sneakers and action figures. So I wanted to infuse the painting with the things that they love. So this was kind of like their painting, their altarpiece. And so for me personally, the reason that I merge with like pop art or cartoon animation with realism is because I feel like I want my art to live in a fantasy world at the same time. It's like, I didn't want it to be so serious, and I wanted to be able to infuse it with the things that I love. And so I'm very comical. I love cartoons. I love Disney. And so I want to be able to incorporate that into my paintings and give something different. So to be able to see that super realistic portrait with like this animation, I think it kind of ties in the different generations. And also it's conducive to the generation that we're in now with the Generation Z, that they gravitate to it, because I feel like my artwork is something for them as well, that I want them to be able to see artists, African-American artists, and see that they can relate to it. So I like to pull in these things that like when they see this, they're like automatically drawn to that, you know, and then they want to talk about it. They want to have conversations. And the conversations could even be like, well, if they're artists, you could do this as well. You could merge something that you like into your painting and kind of think of something different and unique.
You know, unique is the real word, because you have these shadow boxes that are very unique with three-dimensional feel to it, and you call them altars. So tell us a little bit about your altars and why you call them altars.
So I am a Christian. So a lot of my faith is, you know, my religious beliefs comes from Christian art. I like looking at a lot of the Italian and the Christian art that have these pictures of Jesus and Mary that are like these altar pieces. But for some reason, you know, African Americans, we don't really see ourselves in that environment. So I wanted to be able to create these altar pieces, which is like this one. So the bottom and the top are actually custom made. Me and my husband build the altars. And on the mantle, we put pictures of our family. We put different things that they like, from action figures and just different things, so that it feels very personal. So my shadow boxes are also, like, to me, it's a form of altar pieces and a form of creating three-dimensionality in like a two-dimensional space. So I never wanted to limit myself as an artist, because I'm very creative and I like everything when it comes to art. Like, I like fabric, I like sewing, I like wood, I like, you know, playing with action figures, I like assemblage, I like collage. And so I had to really come up with a creative way to merge everything and not have to compromise and take something out. So each one of my pieces are like, I put a lot of thought and a lot of planning into what I wanted to look like. And I didn't want to have to do away with something. So like the lighting and the video, like this one, one of my other pieces has video to go with it as well, which is an interview. So I just want to be able to kind of incorporate everything. And I've heard some people say that my artwork looks like a lot, very crowded, but I like crowded and I like a lot for people to be able to look at, so that when you look at it, it's so much stuff going on that you have to sit there and you have to analyze it. I like that. I like that feel of people being able to like examine and kind of go through and see like little hidden things that, you know, are unique.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I think just as an artist, but as a collector, I always think about how the complexity of a piece of work is part of what pulls you in, because artists, we're always trying to figure out like how they do it. Collectors are in amazement of what they did, but the box creates a new kind of dynamic to layering, because you get the layers, but then they're three-dimensional in a way that you feel like you can go around it and in it without touching it. And for me, it was really interesting because it took me back to my childhood looking at your work. And I know you all have Macy's in New York, but we used to have Marshall Fields around Christmas time. And everybody, my mom would take all five of us to look through the windows of the Christmas Christian, you know, kind of scenes. And I forget there's a formal name for that, but your boxes made me feel like I was somewhere else looking at a scene in Marshall Fields or Macy's. And I think that's part of your genius. So can you speak more to how that started with your work and when you started creating the boxes as part of your work, almost like how an artist does framing? Your box is the frame, but so much more complex.
Well, it started because I'm big on words. And so what I did was I started researching. Once I started, because moved from two-dimensional to now more three-dimensional, I started researching like with the history of shadow boxes and like what is a shadow box. So it came from like military, like a lot of times they would give the military men these shadow boxes to honor the things on their journeys when they left the military. And so it was all of these things of like what their accomplishments was, but it also was family heirlooms and stuff. And so like, I found that very interesting. And I said, well, how can I incorporate this into my art? So my first shadow box was actually the one with my daughter with the wings, right? The New York one, that was the first shadow box, is the one with Z with the wings. And that one was, again, because I wanted to be able to protect, right, what was inside, right? Because to me, it's like this box is also a form of like you protecting the things that you love, you encasing and protecting the things that you love. There's something in there is valuable. It's not just a box, right? So when I build it with the layers of the paper and the fabric and the hot air balloons and stuff, I wanted to be able to show that this is something that people encase the things that they love, and they put it in a box and they preserve it, right? It's preservation, right? And so to a degree that's sacred and that's very unique. And so I kind of carry that mission with me to this day, even when I create the altarpieces, even though not all of them are in boxes, but I still have a heart for like creating these layers. And I like to be able to paint on the box to be able to show that, like you said, that 3-dimensionality where you could actually, when it's lit up and there's lights going, you get to see all these different things happening. It's just an interesting like movie that's happening before you. You know, it doesn't just look 2-dimensional. You can see all the different layers. So for me, it was very captivating to be able to create something unique. And when I looked at a lot of different artists, I didn't see anything like that out there. And so I was like, I think this could be something that could be extremely unique if I do this correctly. And so I love the shadow boxes, and I love to be able to work with the LED lighting, and I'm definitely going to be making a lot more of those.
That's awesome. I'm going to touch on that word unique again, because your work is very unique. And so you had this one piece that's called Break in Case of Emergency, and it has the lights in it. Tell us a little bit about that. That's awesome.
So that one is actually one of my favorite ones. So not trying to be super spooky deep, but I'm gonna be super spooky deep. And that just means like a lot of my paintings come to me in dreams. So that was one that came to me in a dream, and Formidable Force was also one that came to me in a dream. So I dream certain paintings, and then I do photography. So I'll go and photograph something. But for that specific one, I had a vision of like the Afro pick that was carved out of wood. And so, and I wanted to collage these women, these historic vintage women, because me having natural hair my whole life, there's always this like stigma of like women not wanting to really embrace it. It's like an embarrassment to show your natural hair. And that was something that kind of bothered me, because from when I was young, my mother, she used to perm my hair when we were young, and then she moved, she's transitioned and started to do all natural, and we got dreads. But I know with, especially because I live here in Texas, a lot of women, they don't want to embrace their natural hair. And like, if you go and pull their wig off, they're like, oh my God, I don't want you to see what's underneath. Like it's a monster being revealed. And that kind of bothers me, you know, that like they pull off the wig and it's like, oh my God, I'm melting. Like you don't want people to see. I'm like, dude, that's how you really look, you know? And so to me, it's something to be proud of. So to me, that painting symbolizes break in case of emergency. Like, this is what you really look like, dude. Like, this is what your ancestors look like. This is what your grandma looked like. And it's okay. So to me, that break in case of emergency was supposed to look like that fire extinguisher case. That's like saying like, you need to break this. Like it right now, it is an emergency. Like you need to be real with what you really look like and embrace it and be proud of it and don't be embarrassed of it. So showing those vintage pictures and the little clips of like the different permed hair from like the 60s and advertisements was a way of me kind of showing that this is what we really come from and we need to embrace that. And then to me, I like I said, I use words. So on it says break in case of emergency, but then it says Black beauty dipped in gold. Look at all that pretty hair. It's like, you are beautiful the way you are. You know, you are dipped in gold. You are beautiful no matter what your hair looks like, because the natural state of your hair when it grows out without the perm, without the weave, it's beautiful. Why do we not think it's beautiful? So to me, that was something that like I wanted to be able to showcase. And the Afro pick is something that's universal to all African Americans. We all know that Afro pick comb, you know. So I was like, I'm gonna get this carved out and I'm gonna elevate, I'm gonna do this. It was a whole building the boxes and trying to plan it and lay it out and all of that. It could be a lot of work, but it's very, very rewarding. And when you see the end result, it's so fulfilling, you know?
And thank you for diving deep in what we're learning, not just an American or African-American problem. It's a universal African problem where we're running from ourselves and the rest of the world is running toward us, trying to be us. And you know, Africans, because of colonialism, have the same issue with their hair. And it's so amazing that once we embrace it, and the real beauty of it, I think, is what you're showing. But there's another two pieces that I wanted to talk, and they are the two pieces from the invitation. And I know you mentioned one was your daughter, and then there's another little girl with cotton candy. Was it intentional? Because it almost feels like you're creating time in front, almost like the young girl evolving into this amazing woman. And, you know, seeing the two of them, I just saw them and we talked about it, but it just feels like you're helping young women have the ability to know, young girls to know what it is to be a woman. Was that the intent? And if you could tell us more about those.
Yes, for sure. It definitely was the intent because well, she's 22 now. So, but I was raising a little girl at the time. And so I've always been drawn to painting African-American children because of the trauma that they experience with their fathers, with social media and like self-esteem and stuff like that. So I, like, if I could, I would just paint kids. Like, I wouldn't even paint adults. Nothing wrong with adults, but I'm just saying I really enjoy painting kids and gathering their stories. So this particular little girl, her name is sorry, I forgot what her name is. Forgot what her name is. But the one with the cotton candy, I did I put a post on Facebook to call for young women to kind of give their stories. And so her story was very captivating to me because she was in Buc-ee's or one of the gas stations, and this guy, she said, was a grown man that came up to her and said, "What happened to your hair? You look like you stuck your finger in a light socket." And so, like, her mom was with her, and her mother's Caucasian and her dad's Black, but you know, she was like, just on her face, she just started crying when she was telling me the story. And I was just like, wow, that's just crazy that this grown man would say something to her like that and just cause her, like, break her down. And so she was tall, you know, and she was she very, very tall for her age. And so she had these self-esteem issues that because of things that people had said to her. And I was just like, well, let's dive deep into this discussion. And so we had the whole discussion about it. I photographed her, and when she was in the backyard and I was photographing her, she was so happy, she was so joyful. And we just started talking about, I said, "Your hair looks like cotton candy." And she was like, "Yeah, it does." I said, "It's so beautiful." So to me, it was a way of infusing self-esteem into this little girl, that now she has this portrait of her, that she has a copy of the painting. She could see that somebody took the time out to, like, hear my story and dissect that. And we got to be able to make something beautiful out of it, you know? And so it infused a sense of pride in her. So even though along this journey, like, I just deposited a seed in her. I deposited a seed, but along this journey, there's going to be many people like me that deposit seeds into her to build her back up. Because that one incident of somebody breaking her down like that at the gas station, that could be something that she constantly rehearses in her head for years. And even though all these people say good things, there's that thing that keeps, you know, revolving in her head where she feels that way. And so that bothers me that she felt that way. And so the same thing with my daughter, when people would say things to her, I'm like, well, what can I do as a mom? You know, well, I have this talent, you know, to paint. This is something that I can do to contribute to her self-esteem. So again, I was raising a young lady. So most of my paintings are, again, self-portraits and portraits of my daughter. But now I'm starting to paint, you know, other things as well, you know, well, mostly my family. But to me, that was something that was really, really significant to me at that time, because I was around a lot of children and I saw the hurt and the trauma. And, you know, even her friends seeing the paintings of her, they were like, "Your mom did this, like, for real?" And so it was like, my mom was like this, her mom was like the celebrity that could do all these paintings. So even though, you know, it was just great for her friends to be able to see that as well, you know?
Nice.
Yes, healing and wellness, and that's what
Yes.
you actually display. I mean, this is awesome, and it's really making me feel good as a human being to be able to, you know, resonate with your artwork, and then to be able to feel as though there's hope for the future, because we need more of that content to help uplift our people. We need to be uplifted because so much has happened to us in the past, and you're
Yeah.
doing. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how you feel about your wellness and how it's affecting more people.
Well, I think the main thing with my artwork, and, you know, when I told you guys in the beginning that, like, this is something that God wanted me to do, God wanted me to do art and start painting, is because, like, it's not for me to keep it for myself. It's a portal, you know, it's a portal of healing for people, that when they come across my artwork, even though I'm not there, they gain an experience that's supposed to be therapeutic and healing. So regarding my artwork, I don't want anyone to see it and feel depressed after they look at it. I want them to feel uplifted. So I know that personally, working around a lot of kids, especially artistic kids, one thing that I had to really embrace in my calling, to be able to talk to them about their purpose in art, is that there's a lot of artistic kids that have talents like this, but their parents and stuff, they don't encourage them because they don't think that it's a lucrative career, or they can make a living off of it. So that's something that I try to tell them, is that if you have an artistic gift and you like to paint and you like to draw and you like music, like, you can be able to make a successful living and career off of that. So back to the mental health part, is like embracing what you're called to do and what you like to do, that you can do that and be able to make a living off of it. And as far as my mental health, this is my therapy. Like, I'm painting all the time. And not, you know, to me, it's a way of like staying out of trouble, but like keeping to myself, and it's really healing to me. So like, I just like being able to create different things. Like, I get these ideas and I'm like, oh, I could do that. I could put video, I could put lights, I could put whatever. So to me, this is my healing, and it's kind of like my prayer as well, because when I'm doing it, I'm praying, I'm meditating on the word of God. I'm meditating on the message behind it. Like this one called Bloodlines is like about family, is about restoration, right? DNA. And at the time that I did this, our mother had just passed away. So it was a way of saying that our family, she passed away, but our family is going to get closer. So I pray, and I pray over my family. I pray over the people that encounter my artwork. And I just pray that they would gain hope, because right now, the way society is going, there's a lot of people that don't have hope. So I would hope that my artwork would infuse that in them.
Wow. And that's kind of a road we've traveled at the gallery, particularly through COVID, how art in our business has become wellness. And to hear your process of pouring into your work for yourself, your own wellness, but yet you create an end product that lifts people. So it's not decoration, it's I'm feeling good because I'm around it. And I think that's powerful, and it speaks to your fingerprint. But I wanted to end with, for myself in questioning, back to the technical slash more of a collector question that I found to be another uniqueness about your fingerprint with the box. Because as an artist, a lot of times artists are afraid to use different mediums, mixed media, because of archival reasons. But I think part of the other genius is the box protects your mixed media. And was that your intent, or is that just an end product of everything else you've been doing?
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking, well, I did think about the self-preservation part, but it wasn't necessarily the protection in the physical aspect. The way I thought about it is more like protecting our families. So this heirloom, this thing that we encase, is like we're trying to protect it. Like the piece that I have called Nostalgia, which is the one of my daughter holding a house in her hand, and that one was the case, is like, this is an intimate, this house that she's holding is intimate feelings that she has. This is real life situations and things that she likes, and she's trying to protect and preserve that, where she's going to another state, going off to college, doing something different. So to me, it was an act of self-preservation, but not necessarily the physical preservation, but that comes along with it as well. So that's good.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
That's that genius. So I didn't know if you had another question.
I think this is amazing. I love the work. I love where you're going with it. I'm hoping that, you know, when we get it out there and everybody gets to see it, that they'll feel the same way we do, because I know they will. It's just amazing.
And I'm truly honored myself to know you, and looking forward to meeting you in person at the opening and welcoming you to Chicago. But thank you for sharing your gift with us, and we are so happy you'll be able to share your creativity with the world through us, through our collectors. So thank you so much, and
thank you guys.
Yay to Sanah and your solo exhibit.
Sanah,
thank you
so much.
All right, thank you guys so much.
See you in Chicago.
And then if anybody's interested in her work, they'll be able to go to www.galleryguichard.com, and you'll be able to see her amazing pieces. You'll be able to purchase, and just let us know at galleryguichardsocial@gmail.com. And then you can also hear more of her stories.
And I always say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Just go to the website and click on virtual exhibit catalog number 21, Sanah Bowens Brown and Brown Bowens, and you will be able to drop into the gallery and see her exhibit, touch on the Matterport, and learn about the title, medium, and synopsis. So what she was thinking about. So you can actually art binge this exhibition on your leisure with your family, in addition to coming and seeing it for yourself. So thank you for visiting with us here at Gallery Guichard virtually, and we're so happy to have you. And thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you again for taking a ride with us virtually and having a sit-down conversation with an artist up close and personal. So we really hope you enjoyed today, and we look forward to seeing you again. But don't forget, you can find all of our virtual exhibition catalogs on our website. Drop in and move around and find the work of art that speaks to you.
And the work will speak to you and in your home. And we had a great conversation, so you'll learn more.
It's easy as 1, 2, 3. See art, buy art, love art, live with original art.